Today, we're going to dive into a really radical idea from Morgan Housel's work, that financial success has way less to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave.
And look, that ignorance, it's not about not knowing stock market formulas. It's about not knowing ourselves. The whole financial world wants you to think you need a genius-level IQ. But the real secret isn't about what's in your head, it's about what's in your heart. And that is something you can completely control.
So let's just reframe this whole thing. Forget the idea that you have to be some kind of financial wizard. Let's explore a totally different path. What if building wealth is less about complicated spreadsheets and more about your mindset and just a few simple, repeatable actions?
All right, first up, we have to talk about this modern trap that we've all kind of fallen into. You know that nagging feeling, right? That no matter how much you earn, you always feel like you're playing catch-up? So why is that?
Well, this slide shows the huge shift. See, it used to be that we'd just compare ourselves to our neighbors. You know, the Joneses next door, maybe a coworker who got a new car. But today, our comparison group is basically infinite. The algorithm feeds us the highlight reels of millions of people, which makes our own lives feel totally inadequate and sends our expectations spiraling out of control.
And it all boils down to this super simple formula. Happiness is really just the gap between what you expect and what you actually have. So when social media is constantly jacking up our expectations, that gap gets wider and wider, and it leaves us feeling broke and behind, even when our lives are objectively pretty darn good.
Okay, so that's the problem, and yeah, it's a bit of a downer, right? But here's the really good news. The solution is a superpower that every single one of us already has, and it has nothing to do with your income or your education.
This right here is the core idea. Forget all the complex financial models. Getting wealthy is a soft skill, just like being a good communicator or having empathy. And what this means is that someone with an ordinary income but extraordinary patience can actually do better than a Wall Street genius who's constantly taking foolish risks.
And the behaviors we're talking about? This isn't rocket science. It's not advanced calculus. This is stuff we learned in kindergarten. Things like being patient, not constantly moving the goalpost on what makes you happy, and spending just a little bit less than you make. That is the secret formula.
Now, if you're thinking, come on, that sounds way too simple to be true, then you need to hear about a guy named Ronald Read. He lived a really humble life. He was a janitor and a gas station attendant. No high-paying career, no secret stock tips, none of that. And yet when he passed away, get this, he left behind an estate worth $8 million. How on earth did he do that? Simple. He just practiced those kindergarten-level behaviors. He saved what little he could, he invested it patiently, and he let time do all the heavy lifting for decades. His story is the ultimate proof that behavior is king.
Okay, this brings us to a really big idea. If we want to truly succeed, we have to stop chasing what everyone thinks of as rich and start understanding the huge difference between being rich and being wealthy.
So, being rich, that's the stuff you see. It's all about having a high income right now that pays for all the flashy stuff. The fancy car, the designer clothes, the five-star vacations. Richness is loud. It screams for attention.
Wealth, though, wealth is the total opposite. It's silent. It's the money you don't spend. It's the investments humming along in the background, the savings that you don't touch. Wealth is what buys you freedom, control over your own time, and the power to say no. It's invisible, but it's what really matters.
Man, this quote from a hotel valet, it's just such a psychological gut punch, isn't it? We go out and buy that fancy car, hoping everyone will think, wow, look at them, they're so cool. But guess what? They're not. They're just looking at the car and picturing themselves behind the wheel. The hard truth is, nobody is thinking about you as much as you are. And if you want a perfect cautionary tale, just look at the Vanderbilts. I mean, these guys were the richest family on the planet, the literal definition of rich. But their obsession with living this huge, flashy life led to generations of miserable descendants who had no purpose or independence. And eventually, that massive fortune just, poof, vanished. They were rich, but they were never wealthy. So, the big question is, how do we avoid that Vanderbilt trap? How do we build real, lasting wealth? Well, it comes down to a few simple actions that anyone can start doing today.
Okay, here's the huge mindset shift. Saving is not about sacrifice. It's not about depriving yourself. Every single dollar you put away, think of it like you're actively buying a piece of your own future freedom. It's a down payment on a future where you call the shots. And let me be super clear here. This isn't just about delaying gratification for some far-off future. You are spending that dollar today on something incredibly valuable: peace of mind. The ability to sleep better at night knowing you've got a cushion. That benefit is immediate.
And the way you turn this into a habit, it's actually super simple. First, you gotta treat your savings like a bill you have to pay, like rent. It's non-negotiable. Second, take your emotions out of it by automating it. And third, just start. The amount doesn't matter nearly as much as the habit. Seriously, $5 is way better than zero.
Now, the engine that makes all this magic happen is compound interest. It's basically your money making money, which then makes even more money. The secret ingredient here isn't being a genius. It's time. The longer you let it cook, the more absurd the results become.
I mean, just look at this chart. It says it all. Let's take Warren Buffett, maybe the greatest investor ever, right? A mind-blowing 99% of his entire net worth was earned after he turned 60. His secret wasn't just being a good investor, it was being a good investor for a really, really long time. That is the magic of compounding.
So at the end of the day, we just need to completely redefine the finish line. The goal is not some magic number in a bank account. The ultimate form of wealth is waking up every single morning with complete control over your time, able to say, today I can do whatever I want. And that leaves us with one last, really important question for you. I want you to take a second and really honestly ask yourself this. If you took away all the social pressure, all the noise from the algorithm, if no one was watching, what kind of life would you build? The answer to that question is your first step toward true wealth.